Welcome to KeepItReal Studios, the only channel on YouTube that keeps it real. I just finished watching the new James Gunn Superman movie, and I have a lot of thoughts and opinions I'd like to express about this movie. So I thought the best way to break it down would relatively be focusing on some of its ups and some of its downs. So let's get straight into it. Starting off, David Cornsweet is an amazing Superman. From the way he talks, the way he looks, and just the way he carries himself, he was an amazing Superman. Throughout the whole movie, there were so many moments where I was like, this is Superman. The way he was interacting with the civilians, the way he was carrying himself, and he just looks darn good in that Superman costume. Overall, David Cornsweet did a phenomenal job, and I believe he's a very good Superman. The second aspect that I liked about this movie was just the overall world and premise that James Gunn built. I truly like the visuals, man. That's something I'm not really hearing too much people talk about this movie. The visuals are outstanding. Designs of the costumes, the characters, the choreography of the fights and the sequences, the music choices. There were so many things about this movie that I truly enjoyed. And I also love the civilians, man. Just the way they're interacting with Superman. You see all the kids running towards Superman when he saves the day. Even when the civilians turn on Superman and they believe he's about to conquer their world. So that's something I really liked about what James Gunn did in this movie. Another positive aspect of this movie was the Justice Gang. I truly loved all these three characters, man. From Green Lantern to Hawkgirl, especially Mr. Terrific. I'm telling you, if I could rename this movie, it would be called Mr. Terrific and Superman plus Crypto. Because Mr. Terrific, truly an underrated character. So relatively, I believe Mr. Terrific was good and the Justice Gang was a fine addition into the movie. Number 4, I'll definitely say Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor. I truly believe that he brought a different version into Lex Luthor. And I actually truly enjoyed it. I feel like a lot of people are having mixed reviews, but I think he was definitely a good Lex Luthor. You could definitely feel his hatred and especially his envy towards Superman. He's also hilarious to a certain extent. Don't get me wrong, he's not really my favorite Lex Luthor. There's some aspects that I didn't like about him, but I feel like that kind of boils down to the script rather than the actor within himself. At the end of the day, you know, Lex Luthor is always going to be Superman's biggest menace, and they did a good job. And another positive thing about this movie is, it's just fun. I had a good time while I was watching it. The characters were enjoyable, the action sequences were amazing, the story was good overall. It was a very fun movie, and I still think it was a very good Superman movie, and I think James Gunn is doing something very unique and new with DC, and I'm excited to see more. Now, moving on to some of the downs of this movie. This movie feels like a sequel. It doesn't feel like the first James Gunn Superman movie. It definitely feels like there's another movie out there that wasn't just released. Because while I was watching this movie, there were so many things that felt empty towards me. Like even when the movie first starts, we start in the middle. We don't even start in the beginning. And I'm not asking for an origin story because we've seen way too many Superman movies doing that. There's a whole TV show dedicated to that. We don't need to see an origin story of Superman. But we do need to see a little bit of a backstory for James Gunn's Superman. And I feel like that would be very beneficial, especially for the world that you're building and all these characters. For example, like Lois and Clark, they just recently started dating. And even Lois is questioning whether or not if she should break up with Clark. But by the end of the movie, she loves him back. Like what? You know, we didn't get to see that emotional connection with them build. You know, Jimmy Olsen has that relationship with Eve, but that just comes out of nowhere. I know they try to give like an opening monologue in the beginning, but relatively that's not enough. I still need to see the connections and these characters meet each other, see how they truly feel, see their first interactions. That would have been something very nice to see, especially in this Superman movie. My second down in this movie is, where the hell was Clark Kent? Personally, Clark Kent is a way more interesting character than Superman. I've always thought that and I will always think that. Superman is what he can do. Clark Kent is who he is. And I always found Clark Kent's character to be more interesting. He's this powerful guy, but he has to live this mundane 9-to-5 life. And he has to act like a regular civilian. And I really like that aspect about Superman, where he takes off the cape and he's just a regular human. And he tries to fit into this world. Even though he's physically more powerful, he digresses that and tries to act even less than what he is. And I was actually very interested in what David Cornsweet was doing with Clark because he was kind of a bumbling idiot, and I really liked that in Clark, but we didn't get to see that much of him. Another thing I didn't like about this movie is, too many things were going on at once. I don't know if any of you felt it while watching this movie, but there was just a lot going on. Like the pocket dimension be ripping, there'll be a war going on. Then you have all the stuff with like Lois and Jimmy trying to expose Lex Luthor. Then there's just so many things going on in this movie. Even when the two scenes are intertwined, it still feels like two separate things are going on rather than one. And it just felt, I don't want to say necessarily scattered, but there were just moments where I cared more about one thing rather than the other. Like there's a scene where Lois and Clark are talking, and in the background, the Justice Gang is fighting a giant monster. And I'm more interested in the monster rather than their conversation. Number 4, this one I have to see when the movie fully comes out, but I'm not too sure what the rewatch value is gonna look like. Don't get me wrong, I feel like this is a lot of cases with a lot of movies nowadays. I feel like most movies don't really have good rewatch values nowadays. Even as of right now, I don't really necessarily want to rewatch the movie. There are definitely a lot of scenes that I want to watch back, but like the movie in its entirety, not really. And last but not least, I'm gonna be honest, this is a huge nitpick, but I wasn't really the biggest fan of Jonathan and Martha Kent. Don't get me wrong, I think they conveyed their story very well, like they showed the love to their son. But just looking at those two characters between Jonathan and Martha, I feel like if they really erased Clark wouldn't be the way he is. Like, you know, they're more like, I don't want to say Southern, but they're more like hillbillies kind of character. And I feel like Clark would have kind of taken a little bit of personality traits from Jonathan and Martha. I don't see how those two parents could have raised Clark to the way he was, just the way the characters were. I don't know how to fully describe it, but I hope you understand. But if I'm being honest, I have watched 10 seasons of Smallville, and to me, they had the best Jonathan and Martha, so maybe that's why I'm kind of nitpicking. So relatively, that's kind of it for my ups and downs. But there is a quick session where I just want to talk about some random things that kind of caught my eye or interest me and I need to elaborate on. This Supergirl cameo, I loved it. I somehow managed to avoid that spoiler. I don't even know how I did. And I actually really like what they're doing with the character. Like, she's a basket case. She's just a drunk. And Clark is very disappointed in her. And I can definitely see what James Gunn is going to do with her in the future. I can already see like a whole movie plot in my head where she has to like overcome her issues with like alcohol or whatever and become the true hero that she's meant to be. And I really like Crypto. I did like him throughout the movie. And he saved Clark so many times. So he was definitely not just like a waste of a character. He was very fun. And you know, I'm a big dog person, so that's always a win in my book. I feel like the best scene that actually shows Superman's heart was when Lex Luthor was playing Russian roulette and it kills that one guy and he's very sad about him. I personally forgot the guy's name, but even Clark remembered his name and he actually shed a tear for him. It just goes to show like Superman's character overall, and I really like that aspect about him. And last but not least, thank you James Gunn for finally giving us a good Green Lantern. I don't know why nobody's saying this, but finally we got a Green Lantern. Guy Gardner was amazing in this movie. I love the Green Lantern effect. I love how I kept on mentioning the Lantern Corps. Thank you for finally giving us Green Lantern. He was one of my favorite characters throughout this whole movie. He has so many funny moments, truly amazing. Definitely super excited to finally see a good Green Lantern on the big screen. Overall, that's it for today's video. I just wanted to come on here and share some of my thoughts on just this whole Superman movie. Relatively, I still enjoyed it. I know I kind of nitpicked at some things, but I still think it's a very good movie. And I'm really excited to see what James Gunn has to do with Superman in the future and just overall what's next for DC. But that'll be it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Just comment down below some of your thoughts on this new Superman movie. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to keep it real.